Hello, in the new video of Dynasty War, and today we're finally going to talk about tank version of leveling up the skill or not. So there are 5 shield hero that you can tank with in this game right now. I've waited to do this video because earlier Overlord Sunset was the only one that did not have the Transcend available yet, and in this game the gallery doesn't show you the level 60 once the transcending is available, so I can't really compare them at that point. But now all 5 of them have their own transcend. They can all be level 70, so I can compare their raw stats like that. However, I'm not going to talk about the transcend skill in this video. I'll talk about those in a later video. And well, let's go into it. The first one we have is Chow Chow. Summon summon Juju and Dianwei to help out, and they have insane damage and HP. And then his awakening skill actually buff his own attack by 100%. And then we have Zhang Wei, which does a lot of things with his skill. He does damage, and then he heals himself instantly, and then heals himself even more per second. His awakening skill also increased the attack damage for himself and other friendly heroes. The next one we have is Crazy Juju. Simple skill but very powerful. Have a shield and then also reflects or rebound 50% of the damage that he takes. And his awakening skill increases the duration of his skill by 3 seconds, so that makes him permanently having a shield if he doesn't get his rage reduced by anything else. And then its Overlord Sunset creates a shield and also stuns 3 heroes, as well as reducing their rage by 10 seconds. His awakening skill give him invincibility, or in here, yes, after the barrier vanishes, becomes invulnerable for 7 seconds. So after the shield breaks, he gets to be invincible. Extremely, well, it's not extremely powerful, he just doesn't die for the next 7 seconds basically. After the 7 seconds, who knows. And then we got Tiger Sunjan, which improves Tiger Warriors and himself's attack speed, which is worded pretty weird. It says, and also improve the caster's attack speed. So basically he increased the attack speed of himself and the Tiger Warriors on the whole battlefield, not just around him, by 60%. His awakening skill also increased his own attack damage by 70%. So out of the 5 heroes here, 3 of them are passive skills, 3 of them have awakening skill that increase their own damage. And I think there is a specific reason why your shield hero wants damage and attack speed, because shield hero tends to have the lowest DPS, so giving them some buff in their damage allows them to be useful as an individual after the skill. At least they can do some damage. That's what I think. But all 5 of these heroes, I have talked about them individually in the past, so you can check that out in the playlist. I talk about every single hero's skill and awakening skill, whether you should upgrade them or not, or just let them be. But in this video, I'll compare them. And there are a couple of things I'll compare. I'll compare who can last the longest, who can endure the most damage, who can have the most survivability, and the last thing I'll compare is who is actually the most powerful, the strongest in terms of attacking, offense, fighting, in terms of doing damage. Who is the most powerful in that sense? I might be talking about more focusing on offense, because on defense it's unfair, because you can't really use Xiao Xiao or Overlord during defense, so it's not a fair comparison for all 5 of them. But I'll also talk about them in both offense and defense. And let's get right to it right now. Okay, so right here I listed our 5 candidates in the order that I just present them, and I think that's the order that they are in the game as well. And then I listed their HP and DPS at level 70. So this might be and probably will be higher than the one that you have, unless you have a level 70 hero as well. And there's a couple of things we have to take a look at in the HP and DPS and the basic stats, Overlord has the highest HP. Zhang Fei has the lowest HP. However, Zhang Fei has the highest DPS and Overlord has the lowest DPS. But what is the difference? Is it a big difference? And yes and no. For HP, if you look at the highest and the lowest, that's 150 difference. When we're talking about 10,000 damage, 150, it's only 1.5% difference. And not a lot. However, DPS, we're talking about one that's 500 and one that's 750, 475. 475, that's 25 points, 25 damage per second. That's actually 5% difference. So the DPS is a much more significant compared to the HP difference. Because in HP, you can buff it by having treasure, 25%. That 25%, that 150 difference plus a 25% is not going to change too much. It's around like 30 something extra HP that you're losing with the treasure. However, in DPS, that's different. The 25 damage that you have in here, because of the damage buff that you can get in either damage or attack speed, these buffs can increase your DPS like dramatically. So that 5% or 25 DPS can change, can be a big difference. For example, if you're getting affected by Sime's damage buff, which is only 100%, that's an extra 50 damage you're losing, right? You're losing the 25 and then the 100% of the 25. So you're missing, right now you're missing 50 out of 500, so that's 10%. Obviously, if you have attack speed and other stuff added onto it, you're missing more and more on the DPS. So that's one interesting thing that you can see. Zhang Fei seems to be the most aggressive hero here because he has the most damage, and Overlord has the most HP, and then Tiger Sun Jian has the second highest HP. Yeah, it is noted. You should note that these 5 heroes are shield heroes, so they are the most. They have the most HP in the whole game. This is going to be the order that they are in the whole game. There are no other heroes that can have more HP than they have right now. So their skill, Cao Cao is active, Zhang Fei is 15-second cooldown, Crazy Juju is 15-second cooldown, Overlord is active, Tiger Sun Jian is a 15-second cooldown. It's funny that all of these passive shield hero has 15-second cooldown, which is why a big reason why they're not very good on offense, because 15 seconds is a very long time, especially they are melee and they walk fast, so they tend to take damage, and that's what you want them to. So they die very early usually, and or they get hit by thunder formation, which reduce their rage and they cannot use their skill. That is why I don't think these 3 passive heroes are really good for offense. They don't really have the ability to survive, except Zhang Fei. He can heal. Tiger Sun Jian seems like he can do something because it increases attack speed. Crazy Juju, a lot of people just use him for defense because he is very good on defense. Now, take a closer look, a detailed look on their skill. Cao Cao summons 2 minions that does a lot of damage with a lot of HP. Each of them has 323 area damage per second, as well as 14,400 HP, which is more HP than any of the shield hero. Damage wise, it's about 60% of the shield hero's damage. This is around 300. These are around 500. 60, more than 60% actually. So they're pretty strong, and they last for 30 seconds too. So and this is before Transcend. Okay, in this video I'm not gonna talk about Transcend skill, but this is even before Transcend and before Hero Seal. Now Zhang Fei has a lot of stuff with his skill. He does 860 damage, and this damage is not very high, but it serves its purpose. The purpose is to clear out like smaller, weaker troops, like archers, alchemists, dragon guards, things like that. They're not really meant for the elephant, the carts, tiger warrior. They're not meant for that. So 860 damage is pretty good. If you use that on like heavy cavalry, things like that, it does most of the HP already. I think this damage is actually enough to kill healers as well. In terms of doing this damage to an enemy hero, it's not that significant. But what's really significant is restoring 3000 HP immediately and then 167 HP per second for 8 seconds. If you do the math, the 8 seconds, 167 HP, that adds up to close to 1000 HP. Plus there's 3000, that's over 4000 HP. That's 40 to 50% of his own HP already. So every time he uses skill, he basically restores almost half of his HP. He has a very long sustainability, high survivability, as long as he doesn't get KO very fast. Crazy Juju has a shield that is 1400 HP, and then at 10 out of 10 he can already reflect 50% of damage, and that is why my Crazy Juju is still at 10 out of 15. I think my Crazy Juju has like 1000 or 1100, I don't remember. Anyways, getting the couple 300 extra HP on the shield is not gonna help your Crazy Juju much, because on defense he probably uses skill once or twice. At most, that's like another 600 to 800 HP. So what that means is you can reflect like 300 to 400 more damage to your enemy. Not extremely significant in my opinion. That's why I did not level his main skill at all after Awakening, and I talk about that in his video as well. So basically what's really important for him is his Awakening skill. Once you awaken him, his main skill is already, it's settled, it's done already. Now Overlord Sensei, his skill is very strong. He has a 6000 HP shield. 6000, that's at least 4 times more than Crazy Juju shield. A lot of HP. 6000 damage, well, 6000 HP can probably withstand a level, the maximum Purgatory Tower for like around 5 or 6 seconds. So that's a lot of damage. On top of that, he can stun 3 heroes for 10 seconds. Not 10 seconds, stun them for 7 seconds and reduce their rage by 10 seconds. So it's very utility wise, no damage at all. Very defensive, have a lot of utilities. However, one thing is getting this 6000 shield is extremely difficult because you need to satisfy his damage partnership, which requires you to buy the special 6-star hero. That one is the one that you have to purchase during the events. Like you have to recharge like 15 times or something like that. You can't exchange it with an amulet, which is stupid. So my Overlord only has 4000 something HP for the shield. So it's still pretty good though. And then the last thing is Tiger Sunjan, 60% attack speed for Tiger Warriors and himself. So the Awakening skill, as I briefly explained earlier, Cao Cao has 100% damage for himself. Zhang Fei has 30% damage for all friendly heroes. Crazy Juju increased the duration with 3 seconds, making him the only shield hero that can always use his skill or always have his skill active all the time. Overlord Sunset, if you give himself 7-second invincibility after the shield is broken. So basically he can't be killed for 7 seconds. And then Tiger Sunjan, 70% extra damage for himself. Only himself, not for the Tiger Warriors, only himself. That's the worst thing. So at the very bottom, I wrote out the DPS, the new DPS. Cao Cao's DPS is basically twice as much, going from 476 to 952. Zhang Fei going from 498 to 647. These two, they don't buff their DPS at all. So it seems like they are pretty weak in terms of doing damage. Tiger Sunjan has a very high DPS because it's his base DPS times 1.6 times 1.7. Good for one-on-one, good for soloing an enemy hero. So that's why some people use Tiger Sunjan on defense, because he does have that ability. However, his skill only lasts for 12 seconds. His cooldown is 15 seconds. So there is a 3-second gap where he is completely useless. And I just want to quickly talk about why Tiger Sunjan's design is problematic. It doesn't work because there is already a hero that can do everything he does, and that's Sima Yi. The only thing that he has over Sima Yi is his HP. And in terms of offense, I don't think that's very relevant because he is going to go first, so he's going to die first, which makes his skill useless if he dies. Why? Because buffing all Tiger Warriors, and it's only buffing 60% of their attack speed, it's really bad compared to Sima Yi. Sima Yi has 53% attack speed. He only has 7 more percent. On top of that, Sima Yi has 100% damage to every unit, hero or troop in the area. Yes, your Tiger Sun Jian can cover the whole map, but are you going to place Tiger Warriors all across the map? Probably not. So the other thing is it's passive, but again, the weird thing is Tiger Sun Jian is designed after Sima Yi. Tiger Sun Jian was not out in the first year or so. So they basically design a hero that is much inferior compared to an existing hero and just let it out like, oh, new hero. And that is why Tiger Sun Jian is a common hero. Common 7-star. You don't have to, it's not in parallel, so easy to get. But design wise, it's poor. So before we go into giving them a rank about a position about how good they tank and how much damage they can do, let's take a look at some treasure because it does matter a little bit. So in here, treasure, there's not a lot of complicated things you need to know about treasure. You definitely want the 25% HP, and that's the amount. You don't get DPS for the shield hero treasure. However, you can get a shield, or you can get the recover or the restore, whatever it's called. Once your HP drops below 50%, you restore 7%, and both of these can recover up to 50% of your HP, so it's basically around 6,000. And then another important one is the regeneration. You get to regenerate at most 13% of your HP every 10 seconds. So that's 13% of your maximum HP. Now, this maximum HP is obviously just the 25% from the treasure. When you have hero seal or other stuff, it gets higher. So under the regeneration, I have an additional row. This is the regeneration per second, average regeneration per second, because they don't regenerate every second, they regenerate every 10 seconds. So I listed the average regeneration per second. And because Zhang Fei is the only hero that can regenerate, his skill is he is the only hero that has a regeneration skill that can heal himself. That's why if you take the average healing per second, he actually has much higher. Basically, I took the 3000 HP divided by the 15 seconds, and then the 100 something per second over the 8 seconds divided by the 15 seconds of the skill. So what is the difference? This tells you that Zhang Fei can actually last really long. He is very sustainable. Because what this number tells you that if you want to kill any of these heroes, you need to do at least 200 damage per second to be able to kill them. The more you do, the bigger the difference, the faster they die, because they don't heal as much. For Zhang Fei, it's different. You need to do 500 damage. What that means is you can't really kill a Zhang Fei with a shield hero. With a level 70 shield hero, then yes, but it takes forever. Zhang Fei might be able to kill you before you do that. And if you talk about troops, Zhang Fei can kill most of the troops with his skill because it does a lot of damage. It kills more than one target. While Cao Cao Overlord on defense, they don't work. They have to do it one by one. It's not gonna happen. Tiger Sun Jian can only solo hero. If he is crowded with troops, he's not gonna work either. Now the only exception is Crazy Zhu because he doesn't do the damage himself. He reflects the damage. So if the attacker has more HP, then well, it doesn't matter. The attacker has more damage, then he takes more damage as well. So Crazy Zhu will work against both hero or troops, but again, only up to a certain point. Because as soon as he is taking more damage than what he can recover on average per second, he will die, and he will die quicker if the difference is bigger. But Zhang Fei is not, because you have to do even more damage to Zhang Fei on average per second to kill him even faster. So that's one thing that Zhang Fei has and the other one doesn't. Now, one more thing to talk about is the hero seal. First thing is the rejuvenation that works really well with Zhang Fei, getting his restoration from 3000 something to 4200, 160 something per second to 200 something per second. So adjusting this number, you get on average 560 HP per second. So honestly, you need like a level 60 fan hero to kill them, or a level 70 archer hero. I don't think your level 70 lord can kill a Zhang Fei like that, like on a one-on-one situation, if you don't have like really good equipment. So you can see Zhang Fei in a lot of different situations, he can survive for a very long time. If he does not get highly concentrated fire on him, he can last a long time, and that's a very big factor. Highly concentrated attack on him. Now the next hero seal is ferocity. That increases the damage by 30%. That basically bumps his damage from 860 to like 1100. Honestly, I don't think this is really needed. 800 something is enough. You're wasting a very valuable skill on him if you do this. The next thing is summons. Summon increase the attack and HP of the troops that you summon, so it works for Cao Cao. And then you look at this, you look at these two things, these two troops that he summoned. 18,000 HP and 400 area damage. That's stronger than any of the heroes right here. And then you see Crazy Shiju and Overlord. I didn't list anything. Actually, Tiger Xunjian doesn't fit in this group as well. There is not a hero seal that works for them really well. There are obviously many other ones that can work. I mean, a good one for passive hero is Last Stand, right? Before you die, get some rage so you can use his skill. So actually that works with Zhang Fei pretty well as well. But there is not like a really good hero seal for these three. Now I put fast here. I think that's what it's called. Like, you know, before you die, you get like 100% attack speed. The reason I wrote these three numbers down because they were supposed to be good at doing hands-on like auto attack damage. Basically, I just multiplied the earlier number by 2 right here. That's their DPS. And then you look at this and like, wow, when is it possible? When are you gonna see this? And the thing is, I don't ever think there will be a chance where your Cao Cao Tiger Xunjian has a lot of time like, oh, let me just smack this building or this hero by myself. And even if it does happen, it probably doesn't last for too long anyways. So we have discussed what that can do. So let's talk about how viable it is, or does it even make sense, right? And what they are good at. So the first one I want to talk about is Zhang Fei. I do have a level 60 Awakened Zhang Fei, 15 out of 15, and I believe 1 out of 5 Awakening skill. Did not transcend yet. And I'm not even using him on defense right now because I am just not. But what he's good at, as I said earlier, sustainability. He can last very long time, but he cannot tank for a very long time. I want to make two definitions: lasting long and tanking a lot. Zhang Fei is a type of shield hero that lasts long, but it's not supposed to tank a lot. What that means is, if you use him to tank everything, he's not gonna last long. He is just gonna die, because you need to have him to able to use his skill and restore health. So let me give you approximately how long a Zhang Fei can last with decent treasure. I think 20 something percent HP and like 48% recover, and 13% regeneration, with 22% rejuvenation. Zhang Fei can last over around 15 seconds from one Purgatory Tower. You may think, well, that's only 15 seconds and there's only one Purgatory Tower. Well, I mean, if it could last 15 seconds for one Purgatory, he can use his skill once. But what's really important is he was able to heal himself 8 times. So he was able to last 8 seconds after he used his skill. That's what I observe. It doesn't seem that great because, I mean, I have pretty good treasure already. 22% HP, 48% restoring, and I have the 13% healing every 10 seconds. And I have a 22% rejuvenation hero seal. The only difference is it's not transcended yet. Obviously, when you transcend him, he has much more HP. My Zhang Fei doesn't have 9,800 HP. With the treasure, he doesn't have like 12,000 HP. Probably close to like 8,000, 9,000 HP. Without the transcending, well, after you transcend, he gets even more healing. But basically, even the level 60 Zhang Fei can stand a decent amount of time, but he's not really meant to do that. Because in a real fight, he's not going to just be targeted by one Purgatory Tower, so he's not going to last 15 seconds. He's probably going to last like 5 seconds and he's done. So what he's good at is taking consistent but low damage. You don't want him to be concentrated because he'll die. You want him to last the whole battle, keep healing, keep doing damage, keep healing, keep tanking a little bit and a little bit. So basically, if he doesn't get targeted by Purgatory Tower, Frost Chamber, or the Thunder Formation, then he's fine. Basically, that's it. Maybe one Thunder Formation is fine, because if you have 2, he cannot use his skill, so that's not fine. So basically, if you have the game's the 3 most strongest tower not attacking him, then he can last the whole battle probably. So not really that great for tanking. In terms of doing damage, powerful, can he do damage? Can he output? Not really, because his skill, his awakening skill, doesn't give himself. He gives friendly heroes. So what it means is he's more balanced. If you have sword hero that you use with him, then they can get a big benefit from this 30%, because for sword hero, the 30% damage is much more significant than a shield hero. Sword heroes is like 700, 800 DPS. That 30% is 200 something, while in here the 30% is only 100 something. So it makes a difference. The next one I want to talk about is Tiger Sun Jian. As you've probably figured out, and as I've said, it's really weak. Earlier I said the only thing you want is probably like soloing an enemy hero, and we already have another hero that does that, and that's Zhao Yun. The only difference is Zhao Yun is on parallel hero, so you need to regen him. So maybe you can use Tiger Sun Jian on Alliance Dungeon, right? And the only thing I can think of is if you don't have Sima Yi and if you don't have Zhao Yun and you want to play that way, then you use Tiger Sun Jian, because he is kind of like a much weaker version of both of them together. Good attack speed, good damage for yourself, and you can buff your Tiger Warriors. That's basically it. So he is designed to have similar abilities to 2 different heroes, but it's weaker than both of them at the same time, because Zhao Yun obviously has a much higher base damage, has a much higher attack speed when he uses skill. Both of them are 15 seconds, and Zhao Yun can actually do an initial damage of 3,000 something damage from his Dragon Spear. Only downside to Zhao Yun is he does not have as much HP as Tiger Sun Jian. But again, I don't think if you put them at the same time fighting each other, there's no way Tiger Sun Jian can win, because the amount of HP that he has over Zhao Yun does not cover the amount of damage that Zhao Yun has over him, especially once they use their skill. The next one I will talk about is Xiao Chao. Xiao Chao is actually the only shield hero that I don't have in this game. I have Zhang Fei and Crazy Juju in one account. I have Roller Sunset and Tiger Sun Jian in the other account. The only Tiger Sun Jian, I'm 10 out of 10, haven't awakened him. The other 3 I have awakened. Overlord Sensei I am in the process of transcending. So Chow Chow is actually one of the heroes that I'm going after right now, mainly for the partnership, the Destiny for Crescent Runran. But let's talk about him. What is he good at? Is he good at doing damage? Is he good at doing tanking? Actually, he's pretty good at tanking and lasting for a while. He is himself. It's pretty good at lasting for a while because he summons the 2 bodyguards to go out and tank the damage. However, 14,000 damage, 14,000 HP is a lot, but it's not a lot. It's not enough to survive, because if you do the math, a Chow Chow can easily have more HP than that with treasure and your shield, your recovering or whatever. But why are they good? Why are they still good? They actually get killed really fast, a lot of the time. Not because they get concentrated on. If they get concentrated on, that's great because you have 2 different targets to take out. Counting Chow Chow, you have 3 different targets to take out before your other troops. However, the thing is, you have to use Chow Chow's skill a little bit earlier, because if Chow Chow and the 2 minions that he summoned goes in at the same time with the rest of your troops, there is a high chance that the enemy Purgatory Tower, Frost Chamber do not target them, and they will target your back end. Then that's a big problem. So what is the deal of having these 2 going in first? Basically it's taking out the skill, like machinist cards, Juglian's Lightning, Ladies, Frozen Arrow, or even Zhang Liao or Crescent. All of the heroes that I listed, none of their skill can actually one-hit KO the minions, at least not at the base value, right? I don't think any of them can do over 14,000 damage per skill. So both of them can soak up all 4 heroes, or even 5 with the Lord right now, all 5 heroes skill, and then now you still have 1 shield hero with decent high damage going in with the rest of your troops, and all 5 of them are not gonna have a skill to defend. So that's a good thing. So Chow Chow can actually last pretty long. Neither is he or the other 2 is very tanky. They can get taken out relatively quickly. If you just stand under the Purgatory Tower, probably lasts for 10 seconds or so, something like that. But the thing is, you can see that his skill is not meant to tank a lot of damage. Well, his skill is meant to tank a lot of damage. He is not supposed to tank a lot of damage, nor is either of his minions are supposed to tank a lot of damage. The whole skill is supposed to tank a lot of damage. So he can last pretty long. A lot of time I see Chow Chow, he doesn't really die, because after the initiation, after the 2 minions go in and tank and die, a lot of the times the Purgatory Tower doesn't focus on him, because there are other stuff here as well. So he lasts pretty long, but I guess after you use his skill, you want him to die as well. You want him to tank as well, because he is pretty much useless. You know, you get 30 seconds of high damage, and then after that you go back to like really low damage, and nobody really care. So I guess he is the most normal, the most common one, like the safest way to do when you're going offense, because it doesn't require too much skill. You just if you don't know how to use his skills a little bit earlier, then you're almost guaranteed to have those 2 tank for you. Now the next one I want to talk about is Crazy Juju. Crazy Juju is usually used on defense, and in fact, most people use him on defense because he is probably the strongest on defense. He is the second most HP hero on defense. Now, if you look at hero, then you see no, he's not the second, he's the 4th. However, you're not going to use Chow Chow over Lord Sunset on defense. You're only going to use Tiger Xunjian, and a lot of people don't. So he is basically the highest HP on defense, with the ability to do a lot of damage. So going back to doing the most damage, he doesn't do damage himself that much, but he is actually one of the shield hero that can do the most damage, because he reflects 50% of the damage. The higher the damage of the attacker, the stronger Crazy Juju is. Now obviously the faster he dies as well, but he is still doing the damage. So he doesn't last long. He doesn't tank long. He can't really tank. He only has a 1400 shield every 15 seconds. He can't really tank. He doesn't last long. What he does is he do a lot of damage. And on defense, that's what it matters, because the attacker's troops will end. They're not endless. Their hero will come to you, they will die if they attack you, if they do a lot of damage. And there's only a few situations where that doesn't apply. Maybe on offense, right? On offense, your crazy juju has to go on offense, and then there might be a chance where he will die because he can't heal himself. That's the only problem he has. He cannot heal himself. The only way that he can heal himself is with treasure. Every 10 seconds, regenerate 13%. In that case, he can regenerate around 1,000-ish HP every 10 seconds. So if he doesn't die, if he doesn't take that much damage every 10 seconds, then he can last long enough to regenerate. But on offense, that is probably not going to happen. Maybe if you keep healing him, that can work, because the more damage he takes, the more damage he is doing. So basically, that's how it is. If you can have a crazy juju that has close to 20,000 HP, including everything, you know, he can do a 10,000 damage to the things that's attacking him. That is a big amount just by himself, because he can also auto attack as well, but that's very low, obviously. So actually, using crazy juju on defense is not because he is very tanky compared to the other heroes. He's actually just very high damage. That's something that I think most people are not aware. On defense, you don't just want HP. A lot of people use Tigers in general. Oh, he has a lot of HP. He can also do damage one-on-one, high basic damage. But clearly, it doesn't work most of the time. You want crazy juju because he can do a lot of damage to a lot of unit at the same time. He doesn't have the most HP in any way. Now the last one we're going to talk about is Overlord Sunset, because I am transcending him right now. I find him very useful. Let's talk about how tanky he is. Very, very tanky with the 6,000 HP shield, if you can get it. Extremely tanky. 6,000 shield by itself probably can last 6 seconds or so, or 8 seconds, something like that. It's 5 to 6 seconds under the Purgatory Tower. So that's very strong already. On top of that, you get the invincibility after the shield. So what that really means is he can tank for a long time. He can last for a long time too. But usually he doesn't last the whole game, because he just tanks so much that he will die after the 7 seconds of invisibility. Because the longer he stays alive, the more attraction, the more concentrated that the enemy is attacking him. And because of that reason, you need very good coordination with your other troops, because he doesn't do any damage. There is no way he can do damage. He is very offensive too, but he doesn't do damage. So you rely on your other heroes and troops to work well with him. So he is probably the most tankiest in here. The first thing is obviously his shield. If you just look at these two numbers, his shield is over 2/3 of his HP. And even when you have the 25% HP, this bumps up to 12,000. 6,000 is still halfway of his own HP. And even if you go up to like 24,000 HP, which you can probably get with the HP, with the shield, with recovery, and then with the regeneration, you can probably go up to like 24,000 HP. The shield is still a quarter of his own HP. That's how much the shield is. You basically, in the beginning, you're getting 2/3 of a shield hero, and then getting half of a shield hero, and then at the end, you're still getting a quarter of a shield hero extra. That's how much HP that there is. And then after that, the 7-second invincibility, who knows how much damage he is soaking up at that point. The Purgatory Tower, the Frost Chamber is locking onto him for over like 10 seconds. It's insane of amount of damage per second that time. And at that time, even though he's not taking any damage, but that's wasting the time on these tower, wasting valuable time that they could be used to attack other troops or possibly giving your troops enough time to take them out. Why is he also very offensive? Well, because he can stun and reduce 10-second range. That's very offensive. It's not very damaging, but very offensive. So in terms of offensive, Crazy Juju and Overlord are very, very offensive. And for tankiness, it's probably Overlord, since he himself is the most tankiest, even tankier than Cao Cao's complete skill, in my opinion. For lasting long enough, obviously Zhang Fei has a very, very small subset of situation where Zhang Fei can last very long, and Tiger Sun Jian is just like a crappy version of Zhao Yun and a crappy version of Sima Yi together. Yeah. Basically, that's it. So that's my opinion on these 5 tanky shield hero. Now let me know what you guys think about them, if you have all 5 of them, if you even transcended, or I guess awakened or are going to transcend them, and how do you play them? Do you use any of these passive hero on offense, or do you just use them on defense? And do you prefer Cao Cao on offense or Overlord Sensei on offense? I am going to try. I'm going to transcend Overlord. I want to get Cao Cao in my other account so I can try both of that. But this is it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.